Juliet, it's good to see you once again. Thanks for coming in studio today.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Okay. So, what's this about your encounter in a parking lot with an FBI agent yesterday? Please tell me about this.
I'm so glad I'm here and not in jail. But yeah, so yesterday...
That's always a good way to start out a story.
Yes. Yesterday, my kids spent 2.5 hours on the playground playing after school. They were running around like crazy. And when it was time to leave, they were all sort of complaining about how tired they were. And they were kind of hot. It was warm. It was a little bit warm yesterday. And so because I let them play so long, which I think is a good thing, it was late and I had not started dinner. And so I thought, well, I'll just stop by the grocery store and get a rotisserie chicken for dinner. And they didn't want to come in the grocery store. And look, every mom knows what happens when you drag your 9, 7, and 5-year-old into the grocery, or whatever combination it is. They complain, they're touching things, they start fighting, especially if they're irritated already. So it was very cool out. It was a little bit warm, but it was nice out. So I rolled down a window and I said, everyone stay put. And they know the rules. They know they are to stay in their seats. They're not allowed out of their seats. And they're certainly not allowed to talk to anybody if someone approaches the car. I was just 100 yards in the grocery store. My children are familiar with that grocery store. They know if something happened, they would simply walk into the grocery store and find me. It's not a very big grocery store. And I trust them. They're capable, they're smart, they're familiar with their surroundings. They even know some of the shopkeepers in that strip mall. So I go in, I come out 10 minutes later, and there is a man standing next to my car, sort of at the front end. And he's just standing there.
Ooh.
Uh-huh. And I knew it. I knew it immediately. I knew what was going to happen. So I walk up to the car, and he flashes a badge. He sort of was stuttering and saying, ma'am, and he flashes a badge, and I saw it briefly because he closed it quickly, but it was an FBI badge. And he said, I'm with the FBI, and you're not, he points at the car, and he says, you're not allowed to do that. And I said, allowed to do what? And he said, you're not allowed to leave children in the car unattended. So I kind of laughed because I just was so shocked that this was actually happening to me. I mean, I have a 9-year-old, and this has never happened to me. And I've kept the kids in the car before. Yeah. And as you know, I've been a big follower of the free range kids movement. I read everything that Lenore Skenazy puts out, and she tracks these. She helps moms. She tracks these sort of, and there's actually been some legislation. Rhode Island is considering legislation to prosecute women who run in a grocery store, drop off some dry cleaning, and so I said to the man, I turned to him and I said, wow, I can't believe this is happening. I said, can you not say anything because I need to get my phone so I can record everything you're about to tell me. And I could tell it sort of knocked the wind out of his sails. And I've written a piece on this, of course, furiously got home and wrote an op-ed on this. And I imagined how he envisioned this going, right? Where he would sort of say, you're not supposed to do that. And then I would sort of beg for forgiveness. And then he would say, it's okay, ma'am. Have a nice, just don't let it happen again. Or maybe he would be even more aggressive and call the police on me. I don't know what he envisioned, but he clearly did not expect me to laugh and to respond that way. And he said, ma'am, this is illegal. And I turned to him at that point and I said, it is not illegal. I have done nothing wrong. I don't appreciate you harassing me. And then I said, and then he said, ma'am, children are snatched. I couldn't believe it. He said, children are snatched all the time. At which point I said, that's not true. Children are not snatched all the time. And if you are indeed a law enforcement official, I would expect you to know that. And I was becoming more and more angry at just the idea that this man would waste my time. And also, let me tell you, he stood there for about 10 minutes. The 10 minutes I was in the store, he stood there. He rattled my kids because by the time, when all of this was over, I got in the car and I talked to my kids and they said, yeah, we didn't know why he was standing there. So, Mr. Law and Order here, he's the one who rattled my children. My children were not afraid of being left in the car. They were afraid by this weird dude, sort of lurking outside of my car. And so the last thing I said to him was, at this point, I was pretty exercised. apologized. I was pretty angry, and I told him to go flash his badge to someone who cares. At which point, at this point, he had completely lost he was slack-jawed at this point and sort of backed up off of me and turned around and walked away. At which point I got in my car and I drove away, and I sound right now like I was really I was shaking like a leaf. I was so nervous and upset, but I knew I was right. And so I'm glad he approached me. I know my rights. I know I was right. And I know what he was telling me was wrong. I have since heard from a constitutional scholar that the FBI has absolutely no jurisdiction in this area. If I had been doing something illegal, which I wasn't, according to Virginia law, he would have no right to flash his badge and intimidate me like that. So, this was a real-world reminder of why I do what I do and why I appreciate writers like Lenore Skenazy and the organization she founded, and other moms. There's other writers. Increasingly, moms are feeling encouraged to get to know their rights, understand their rights, and push back on this kind of stuff. This was completely inappropriate, and I'll be writing. There'll be some pieces out next week on this.
I cannot wait to read these pieces, and good for you for standing up, because as you say, look, when you're in that moment, and I know you, Julie, I mean, you're not a confrontational person. You don't shy away from a fight, but you're not out there, come on, bub, want to mess with me? I mean, that's just not who you are. But to be put in that position and to be put in that situation, to be told not only what you're doing, you're being a bad mom, but that you're guilty of a crime.
Right.
And here's the thing, you weren't guilty of a crime, and hopefully other parents will know this as well. But again, there's that attempt to shame you.
Yeah.
As well here, and to shame other parents, right?
Yeah.
And so let me just ask again, or let me remind folks, how old were the kids in your car?
9, 7, and 5. Hardly babies. If they wanted to get out of the car, they could have gotten out of the car and gone into the grocery store, or if they needed to get out of their seatbelt, they could have. These are totally capable kids. And also, I trust and know my children. I know what they're capable of. They were born in this town. We go to that grocery store almost daily. They're familiar with their surroundings. Again, they know some of the shopkeepers in that area. So it was insulting. I want to be very clear here and very careful. There are states where what I did is illegal. So be careful. Don't go to Lenore Skenazy, Free Range Kids, go to her website. She has tabs where you can look at your state. You can actually look at your state and the laws and find out if it's allowed. I mean, if it's not allowed, it's absurd, and that's something you should write your congressman about or your state legislature, because that's absurd. Women should be allowed to make these decisions, make the decisions that are best for their families. But in my state, it wasn't illegal. So I want to be careful here. Don't go sort of don't sort of do these things if it's not legal. You could actually be in hot water, and you don't want to do that. But I knew my rights, and I knew this guy.
Yeah, in Maryland, for instance, you would have been guilty of a crime.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So you need to be careful. I don't want to sort of encourage everyone to sort of do this. I do want to encourage people to make the right decisions, but you have to know what your rights are. And I knew he was just making it up. I mean, he's just one of these alarmists who thinks, kids are just, I can't even describe the safety of my neighborhood. It's hard to know where this big cabal of criminals were hanging out that he thinks exist. I mean, was it in the Starbucks? Was it in the Whole Foods? I mean, this guy has this sort of, and he probably has a bit of a hero complex here, so know your environment, know what your kids are capable of, and know the laws in the state, because I don't want to encourage people to be aggressive like this if there is something where they can actually be punished.
So I got to ask Julie, in all of your writing about this and reading Lenore Skenazy's stuff, did you ever? I mean, you must have had in the back of your mind maybe what would I do if this ever happened to me? Did that come in handy, or in the moment were you just sort of flying by the seat of your pants?
As I approached the car, I had this feeling he was fiddling with his wallet, and he was clearly waiting for me, and so I had this sense. But I was so angry at being lied to by a law enforcement official. Well, I mean, who knows? I didn't get a good look at it, but I think it was an official FBI badge. I was so angry knowing that I was right and knowing that that's my job. Like, I write about this stuff. Right? I mean, this is my job to write and read and keep tabs on this stuff. And I think about the mom who doesn't. And that's the majority of women. They don't have time to they don't think about this stuff, and they don't have time. That would have been incredibly intimidating. So what made me mad is the idea that it wasn't just someone coming up and accusing me of doing something illegal and unethical, being a bad mother. It was the idea that he flashed this badge and was trying to argue with me about legal issues. And again, I think if I didn't know my rights and was so confident about it, I probably would have done exactly what he wanted, acted like the scared, mousy woman who, begs for forgiveness and, oh, I'm so sorry and you're right. And then again, this even gives me pause. I think about the next time I go to that store, am I going to want to go in and leave the kids? And I am. I'm going to fight that feeling that I'm nervous that this guy is going to come up and harass me again. I'm going to fight it. I'm never taking the kids in the car in the grocery store ever. I'm always leaving, and I'm going to put like signs. My kids are in the car. But I think about those women who might not be armed and so confident to fight back. So maybe this incident will give him pause before he approaches another woman, another mom, because I didn't make it easy on him.
Let's hope this was a teachable moment. Absolutely. Julie, listen, thank you for sharing your story. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to reading about this next week. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but really, best to you and the kids, and we'll talk to you again very soon.
Okay. I hope I'm here next week. I'm not in jail. I'll try to behave myself.
Let me know. Don't use your one phone call to call us.
Okay.
But let me know if we need to start.
I'm calling Lenore. Are you kidding?
I don't know if you can't start a GoFundMe for that thing, but you're calling who?
Lenore.
Yeah, there you go. Keep her on speed dial. All right, Julie Gunlock joining us from the Independent Women's Forum, free for now anyway, and with us here on NRA News, Cam and Company.